It's a quick video on a GE washing machine clutch assembly, transmission, whatever you want to call it, assembly, repair instead of replacement. I didn't see any videos out there that do this, what I did, but it's an extensive project, but it is doable and it is pretty straightforward. It just takes some time and effort. So basically this is the clutch assembly that drives there's an inner shaft and an outer shaft that drives the agitator and the spin cycle. And this electromagnet cord here engages this gear here, either up or down, which allows it to either spin or agitate. So electromagnet pulls this in and whatever. The problem with this design is after several years, this bearing right there, water either leaks from the seal here down and gets on that bearing. It basically makes, this is the old bearing. This was really messed up when it's been cleaned up, but it was rusty and everything. So even though it's sealed, water obviously sitting in this little pool here ultimately will get into the bearings and the ball bearings in the bearing, in the seal bearing, and ruin this bearing and make all sorts of noise when you're spinning or agitating, mostly spinning because you're doing it fast. So basically the question is, do you spend $150, it's really $150 to $170 for this entire part, which is what they want you to do, for just a $15 bearing? And actually you get 4 of these for $15 on Amazon. It's a 6006 RS, as you can see right there. Cheap bearing. So yes, you can get it off. It is a little bit of effort, but you got a couple of Torx wrenches here to take off this electromagnetic piece, coil that's inside of that metal frame or metal housing. And the tricky part, oh gosh, what did oh, here. Well, not tricky, but one thing you got to be aware of is how do you then get to the bearing and all that housing and everything. This little slip ring is what attaches on top of this little plastic head. This little plastic thing, I've got some grease on it now, but basically that's what sits right in that little groove, which lets you release this plastic head here, which then lets you take off all of these parts and take off the electromagnetic piece and get to just this frame which has the bearing in it. The bearing comes out this way from the frame, and you can see that the bearing, the inner brace, is connected to this black shaft with the grooves in it there. This is all exposed when you take all this, take that key ring, snap ring off with a little pick. It'll come right off. It's kind of a couple of layers though, but it'll come right out of that groove. Let you take that plastic piece off and these gears off, and then you can take off the Torx heads, take off this electromagnetic housing, and actually see the frame with the bearing. Now you will need some bearing tools, sockets, what have you, to bang out the old bearing and put in the new bearing. But it is totally doable, and it's wasn't hard at all. It just took some patience. So yeah, this inner shaft can also come out. It's got a rubber metal piece here that I used, that I took off. But just to kind of show you what I did initially. Sorry, noise. Is I cut a piece of PVC like this. I guess this is 1 inch in diameter. But basically, when I got that electromagnetic piece off, you set this inside of here like this. Now it's got to be longer than a little bit longer, so it ends about right here. But basically, I would raise this and bang it against the ground with the weight of this, which would then made this inner shaft come out. That lets you just get to the frame here, the main frame that holds the main bearing in, the 6006 RS. And that then you need to use regular kind of really pulley these tools for separating bearings and races and things. So yes, you can do it. It's cheap. You put another bearing in like this, $15 later, you're up and running. Now you do have to disassemble the entire washing machine, so it will take a couple hours to do all this, but well worth the saving of $170 probably, all said and done. And it is easy and straightforward, and it's probably a good thing to know how to do, because then you can do it again when the bearing goes out. So anyway, yes, it is doable, and I would definitely do it if you want to save some money, if you have a few hours to spare to change this out. This essentially was totally rusted all around here. This housing here had rust all over it. You could tell water was being flung around. All the pieces here were all, you know, rusty colored, gook all over them. So anyway, again, this is a GE washer, and the model number is GTWN4250D2WS, General Electric. So, go for it. Hope this helped. Save yourself some money. Have a good one.